The crystal hall floated in space above the planet Vrelis Prime. Inside, 47 different alien species sat in their seats, waiting for the humans to speak. Ambassador Daehyun stood at the center of the room, his dark suit looking plain compared to the colorful scales, fur, and strange skin of the creatures around him. Behind Daehyun stood two other humans. Minji wore her military uniform, her eyes scanning the room for threats. Hyunwoo carried a data pad with information about all the alien species present. They had traveled 3 months to reach this place, hoping to join the Galactic Council. The room was huge. Light came through the transparent dome above, showing the stars beyond. Each alien sat in a seat designed for their body type. Some were small like children, others were massive, filling spaces meant for 3 normal beings. Daehyun cleared his throat. The translator device on his collar would change his words into sounds every species could understand. He began to speak. Honored members of the Galactic Council, humanity comes before you today with respect and hope. We have discovered faster-than-light travel. We have built ships that can cross the stars. We wish to join the community of civilized worlds and share our knowledge with you. A hissing sound came from the right side of the room. Daehyun turned to see War Master Velroth of the Thracic Empire. The creature was tall, covered in dark green scales with eyes that glowed yellow in the dim light. Behind Velroth sat 20 more Thracic warriors, each one bigger than any human. Share your knowledge? Velroth's voice came out like grinding stones. What knowledge could you possibly have? You discovered FTL travel only 10 years ago. We have had this technology for thousands of years. Other aliens began making sounds. Some laughed. Others clicked their mouths in what Daehyun's research said was mockery. A blob-like creature named Kixtara spoke up. I have read about human weapons. You still use chemical explosives to push metal through the air. You split atoms to make bombs. This is what children play with in the Molten Collective. Very adorable. More laughter filled the room. Daehyun felt heat rise in his chest, but he kept his face calm. Minji's hand moved slightly toward her sidearm, then stopped. They had expected this reaction. Hyunwoo had warned them that the council looked down on new species. Daehyun raised his hand for silence. Slowly, the noise stopped. I understand we are new to the stars. I understand we seem primitive to you. But I must give you a warning, and I hope you will take it seriously. The room became quiet. Velroth leaned forward in his seat. Humanity has a long history, Daehyun continued. We have fought wars on our planet for thousands of years. We have nearly destroyed ourselves many times. We have learned to survive in the harshest conditions. We have learned to adapt, to change, to overcome any obstacle. He looked directly at Velroth. We come in peace. We truly want friendship with your species. But you must understand our nature. When humans are threatened, when our families are in danger, we do not stop fighting until the threat is gone. We do not surrender. We do not forget. We do not forgive. I tell you this not as a threat, but as a fact about who we are. Please, I hope you never give us reason to show you this side of humanity. The room exploded with noise. Aliens shouted and hissed and clicked. Velroth stood up, his massive form towering over everyone. Did this creature just threaten the Galactic Council? Did this primitive just warn us? Velroth's laugh was like thunder. You have 42 ships in your fleet. The Thracic Empire has 10,000. You have colonies on 6 worlds. We control 12 entire star systems. You are insects trying to threaten dragons. Kixtara bubbled with amusement. I motion that we deny humanity's request to join the council. Further, I suggest we declare them a quarantined species. They need time to grow up before they can sit with the adults. The vote happened quickly. Every species voted yes. Humanity was denied membership. Worse, they were told to stay in their own star system. The Thracic Empire would enforce this quarantine. Daehyun bowed his head. We accept your decision. We will return to human space. But please remember what I said today. Please do not test us. Velroth waved a clawed hand. Leave, primitives. Be grateful we do not crush you for your insult. The 3 humans walked out of the crystal hall. Their ship, the Busan Diplomat, waited at the docking port. They boarded in silence and began the journey home. 3 days later, they received a priority message from Earth. The colony transport Sejong's Hope was approaching the solar system. The ship carried 12,000 people, including families of military personnel and scientists. Taehyun's wife and 2 daughters were on that ship. He had not seen them in 6 months. We should arrive at Earth the same time as the Sejong's Hope, Minji said, checking the navigation. Your family will be waiting at the dock. Daehyun smiled for the first time in days. I cannot wait to see them. I will tell them about this trip. Maybe we can laugh about how rude the council was. An alarm screamed through the ship. Hyunwoo jumped to his station. Sir, I am detecting multiple ships dropping out of FTL near the Sejong's Hope. They are Thracic cruisers. Open a channel, Daehyun ordered. He stood in front of the communication screen. Thracic vessels, this is Ambassador Daehyun of the Busan Diplomat. The Sejong's Hope is a civilian transport. It carries only families and supplies. It is not a military threat. No response came. On the screen, Daehyun could see the Thracic ships powering up their weapons. The Sejong's Hope had no weapons, no shields, no way to defend itself. They are firing, Minji whispered. Green energy beams cut through space. The Sejong's Hope tried to turn, tried to run, but it was too slow. The beams hit the transport ship's engines. Then more beams hit the hull, then more. Daehyun watched the screen, his mouth open, unable to make a sound. Hyunwoo was typing frantically, trying to send messages to anyone who could help. Minji stood frozen, her hands covering her mouth. The Sejong's Hope broke apart. Pieces of metal tumbled through space. Then a bright flash filled the screen as the ship's reactor exploded. When the light faded, nothing remained but debris. 12,000 people gone, dead in seconds. A message came from the lead Thracic cruiser. Velroth's face appeared on the screen. This is what happens to species who threaten the Council. This is what happens to primitives who do not know their place. Consider this a demonstration. Stay in your system, humans. Do not make us return. The transmission ended. The Thracic ships jumped to FTL and vanished. Daehyun stood completely still. His wife's face appeared in his memory. His daughters laughing, gone, all gone. Minji turned to him, tears running down her face. Sir, what do we do? Daehyun's hands were shaking. He clenched them into fists. When he spoke, his voice was quiet and cold. We gave them a warning. They did not listen. Now we show them what happens when you wake up humanity. Get us to Earth fast. The Busan Diplomat jumped to maximum speed, racing toward home. Behind them, pieces of the Sejong's Hope drifted in the darkness, a monument to the Council's mistake. They had been warned. They laughed. Soon they would learn that humans never make empty threats. They only make promises. The news reached Earth in hours. Every television screen, every computer, every device showed the same images. The debris field where the Sejong's Hope used to be. The names of the 12,000 dead scrolling past. Children crying for parents who would never come home. The world stopped. For one day, every human on Earth stood still in shock and grief. Then the shock became anger. The anger became rage. And the rage became something cold and deadly. Fleet Admiral Jiwon sat in the war room deep under the mountains of Korea. Around the table sat generals, admirals, scientists, and engineers from every nation on Earth. The walls showed maps of space, ship designs, and tactical data. They killed civilians, said one general. Women, children, scientists, they murdered them to send a message. Then we send a message back, Jiwon replied. Her voice was steel. We show them what happens when you hurt humans. We show them that we keep our promises. She pressed a button. The wall displays changed to show Earth's military forces. 42 ships, just like Velroth had said. Small ships, weak ships compared to the Thracic fleet. We cannot win a direct war, Jiwon continued. They have more ships, better weapons, stronger shields. If we fight them the way they fight, we lose. So what do we do? Asked Chief Engineer Soo-hyun. She was young, barely 30, but her mind worked faster than the computers she built. We fight like humans, Jiwon said. We do not fight fair. We do not fight with honor. We fight to win no matter what it takes. Soo-hyun smiled. It was not a nice smile. Give me 6 months and unlimited resources. I will give you weapons the Council has never imagined. Across the room, Intelligence Director Taewon was already working on his data pad. I'm compiling everything we know about the Thracic. Their military bases, their trade routes, their patrol patterns. They think we are primitives. They will not expect us to strike back. Good, Jiwon said. We let them think that. We let them believe we are scared. Meanwhile, we prepare. The meeting lasted 18 hours. Plans were made. Resources were allocated. Every shipyard on Earth and in the colonies began working at full capacity. But they were not building colony ships anymore. They were building weapons of war. Captain Minho received his orders 1 week after the massacre. He commanded the stealth frigate Inchin's Blade, one of the smallest ships in the fleet. His crew was only 30 people, but they were the best. "We are going deep into Thracic space," Minho told his crew. "We will map their territory. We will find their weaknesses, and we will come home alive." His navigator, Yunji, studied the star charts. The Thracic controlled 12 systems. "We cannot map them all." "We do not need to map them all," Minho said. "We need to find their most important targets. Military bases, supply depots, shipyards. We hit those and their empire starts to collapse." Weapons specialist Seojin checked his systems. "Our weapons are weak compared to theirs." "How do we fight them?" Minho pulled up a display showing an asteroid. "We do not fight them with our weapons. We fight them with theirs. And with rocks." "Lots of rocks." The crew looked confused. Minho explained. "Dr. Yuna in the Orbital Kinetics program has a plan. We accelerate asteroids to near light speed. At that velocity, nothing can stop them. No shield, no armor, pure kinetic energy." Understanding spread across the crew's faces. Seojin laughed. "So we turn space rocks into planet killers. That is very human." "Yes, it is," Minho agreed. While military forces prepared, the survivors of the Sejong's Hope became symbols of human determination. Only 43 people had escaped in emergency pods. One of them was Hana, a structural engineer who had been in the cargo bay when the attack happened. Hana spoke on every news channel. Her words were broadcast to every human settlement across 6 worlds. "They thought killing us would make us afraid. They thought we would hide in our system and never leave. They were wrong." Her voice was calm but hard. "We are not afraid. We are angry. And we will make sure that everyone who did this, everyone who laughed at us, everyone who stood by and watched, will regret it." Her message resonated. Millions of civilians volunteered for military service. Engineers worked 20-hour days building new ships. Scientists raced to develop better weapons, better armor, better everything. Dr. Yuna's kinetic weapons program moved from theory to reality in record time. She converted asteroid mining stations into railgun platforms. Each one could accelerate a 1,000-ton rock to 90% of light speed. The energy required was enormous, but humans had built fusion reactors specifically for this purpose. "The beauty of this weapon," Yuna explained to the military council, "is that it is undetectable until it hits. By the time their sensors see it coming, it is too late to dodge, and when it hits, it releases energy equivalent to a nuclear weapon. But it is just a rock. We have millions of rocks." Suyun's weapons division produced other innovations, drone swarms that could mimic ship signatures, confusing enemy sensors, missiles with advanced AI that could change course mid-flight, adjusting to enemy movements, reactive armor that turned energy weapon strikes into thermal energy, then vented it into space. But the most important innovation was tactical. Humans developed cold-running techniques. A ship would shut down every system except life support and drift through space like debris. No engine signature, no heat signature, nothing for enemy sensors to detect. Then when a target came close, the ship would power up and fire before the enemy could react. "It is uncomfortable," Minho reported after the first test. "We drifted for 8 days in complete silence. Crew had to wear thermal suits because we could not run heating, but we got within weapons range of a Thracic patrol without being detected." "Perfect," Jiwon said. "That is exactly what we need." 6 months after the massacre, humanity was ready. The fleet had not grown in size. They still had only 42 ships. But now those ships were crewed by people burning with purpose. Now those ships carried weapons designed by the brightest minds focused on a single goal. Now those ships were commanded by officers who understood that this was not a war for territory or resources. This was a war for survival. And humans were very, very good at surviving. Ambassador Daehyun had changed. He no longer wore his diplomatic suit. He wore a military uniform. He no longer smiled or tried to find peaceful solutions. His family was dead. Peace had died with them. "The Thracic made a mistake," he said during a final briefing. "They showed us their cruelty. They showed us they have no mercy, so we will show them the same. We will hunt them. We will destroy them. And we will make sure every species in the galaxy knows what happens when you threaten humanity." Minji stood beside him, now promoted to tactical coordinator. "The first strikes are ready. We have identified 7 Thracic border outposts, lightly defended. They do not expect attacks. They are about to learn," Daehyun said. "Begin Operation Retribution. Show them what humans do when you ignore our warnings. The orders went out. Across human space, ships began moving. Silent, dark, deadly. They slipped into Thracic territory like ghosts, using the cold running technique to avoid detection. The hunt was beginning, and the Thracic Empire, mighty and ancient, had no idea what was coming for them in the darkness between the stars. Kelvar Station floated on the edge of Thracic space. It was a small military outpost, home to 200 Thracic soldiers and a few dozen support staff. Its purpose was simple: watch the border and make sure no unauthorized ships entered the Empire. Commander Thrask was bored. He had been stationed at Kelvar for 3 years. Nothing ever happened here. The humans had been quiet since the incident with their transport ship, probably too afraid to leave their system, just like War Master Velroth said they would be. "Commander," one of his officers called out, "I am detecting some unusual readings." Debris field approaching from Sector 7. Thrask walked to the sensor station. "Debris from what?" "Unknown. Possibly from an old shipwreck. The signatures are very faint." "Then ignore it," Thrask said. "Space is full of debris. Focus on real threats." The officer returned to his normal duties. No one noticed when some of that debris changed course ever so slightly. No one noticed when cold fusion reactors started warming up, their heat signatures still too low to detect. No one noticed that the debris was actually 6 human ships drifting in complete silence. Captain Minho watched the Thracic station through his view screen. The Inchon's blade had been drifting for 4 days, getting closer to the target. His crew sat in their thermal suits, breath visible in the cold air. All non-essential systems were offline. "Range?" Minho whispered. Yunji checked her instruments. 30,000 kilometers. Optimal firing range. Weapon status? Seojun smiled in the darkness. "Missiles ready. Nuclear warheads armed. Waiting for your order, Captain." Minho looked at the station. He thought about the Sejong's hope. He thought about the 12,000 people who died. He thought about all the families destroyed. "All ships, this is Minho. Power up and fire on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." The Inchon's blade came alive. Engines roared to full power. Weapon systems activated, and missiles launched toward Kelvar Station. On the station, alarms screamed. Officers jumped to their positions. Commander Thrask stared at his displays in confusion. Where did they come from? He shouted, "Unknown. Ships just appeared at close range. Raise shields! Return fire." But it was too late. The first missiles hit. Kelvar Station shields flickered and held. Then the second wave hit. Kinetic projectiles moving at incredible speed. The shields collapsed under the impact. The third wave was nuclear warheads. They detonated against the unshielded hull. Fire and radiation tore through the station. Sections broke apart. Air vented into space. Commander Thrask had just enough time to send a distress signal before the command center exploded. Minho watched the station die. He felt nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt, just cold determination. "Target destroyed," Seojun reported. "Good, jump to next coordinates. We have 6 more targets tonight." The Inchon's blade and its sister ships vanished into FTL, leaving behind only wreckage and floating bodies. Across Thracic space, similar attacks happened simultaneously. 7 border outposts, all destroyed within hours of each other. The Thracic military scrambled to respond, but the human ships were gone before reinforcements arrived. War Master Velroth received the reports in his command center on the Thracic homeworld. He stared at the casualty numbers with disbelief. "Impossible. The humans do not have this capability. We would have detected their ships approaching." His chief tactical officer studied the sensor logs. "War Master, they are using a technique we have never seen. They shut down their systems and drift like debris. Our sensors cannot distinguish them from asteroid fragments or old wreckage." "Then improve the sensors," Velroth snarled. "It will take months to upgrade every ship and station." "We do not have months." Velroth's claws scraped against his command chair. "The Council will hear about this. They will mock us for being attacked by primitives." He was right. Within days, every species in the Galactic Council knew that humans had struck back. Some species were concerned. Others were amused. Kixtara sent a message saying it was entertaining to watch 2 primitive species fight. But Fleet Admiral Jiwon was not done. The border strikes were just the beginning. "Phase 2, she announced to her commanders. "We target their supply lines. No Thracic ship travels safely. Every convoy, every transport, every cargo vessel is a target. Human ships spread throughout Thracic space like a plague. They hid in asteroid fields. They lurked near hyperspace exit points. They waited in the darkness between planets. And when Thracic ships appeared, humans attacked without mercy. The Thracic tried to adapt. They sent convoys with military escorts, but human ships would strike the escorts first using overwhelming firepower, then destroy the cargo ships. They tried varying their routes. But Intelligence Director Taewon had broken their communication codes. Humans knew where every Thracic ship was going. How are they doing this? Velroth demanded. How do they know our movements? His intelligence officer looked uncomfortable. We believe they have infiltrated our communication network. Every message we send they can read. That is impossible. Our encryption is unbreakable. Apparently not to humans, War Master. Meanwhile, Dr. Yuna's kinetic weapons platforms became operational. The first test target was a Thracic military base on the moon of Hector. The base had strong shields, heavy armor, and a garrison of 2,000 soldiers. It was considered impregnable. Yuna's team accelerated a 5,000-ton asteroid to 92% of light speed. It took 2 weeks to reach the proper velocity. Then they released it toward the target. The Thracic base never saw it coming. Their sensors detected a fast-moving object, but by the time they identified it as a threat, impact was 3 seconds away. The asteroid hit with the force of multiple nuclear weapons. The shields lasted for a microsecond. Then the base, the moon's surface, and everything within 100 kilometers was vaporized. Successful strike, Yuna reported. Target completely destroyed. No survivors. Jiwan marked the base off her list. Excellent. Prepare the next kinetic strike. I want 1 Thracic military target destroyed every week. The Thracic Empire began to crumble. Their military was spread too thin, trying to defend too many locations. Their supply lines were disrupted. Their soldiers were afraid, and their leaders were desperate. Velroth called for a meeting of the Galactic Council. The humans must be stopped. They are violating every law of civilized warfare. They attack without warning. They show no mercy. They are barbarians. Ambassador Daehyun attended the meeting via hologram. He stood in the same crystal hall where he had asked for peace, where he had been mocked and dismissed, where his warning had been ignored. War Master Velroth speaks of civilized warfare, Daehyun said, his voice cold. Where was civilization when you destroyed the Sejong's hope? Where was mercy when you murdered 12,000 civilians? Where was honor when you laughed at our warning? The council chamber was silent. No one laughed now. You called us primitives. You called us weak. You said we used adorable weapons. Daehyun's image looked directly at Velroth. Now you are learning what human weapons can really do. And this is just the beginning. Velroth's scales turned dark with rage. You dare threaten the council again? No, Daehyun replied. I'm not threatening. I am explaining. We gave you a chance for peace. You chose war. Now you will experience what happens when humans go to war. We do not stop. We do not surrender. We do not forgive. We will chase you across the galaxy if we must. We will destroy every ship, every base, every military target you have. And when your empire is broken, when your soldiers are dead, when your people are begging for mercy, then we will consider whether to accept your surrender. Kixtara bubbled nervously. Surely the council can negotiate a peace agreement. This violence benefits no one. You should have thought of that before you voted to quarantine us, Daehyun said. Before you stood by and watched while the Thracic murdered our people. Every species that voted for that quarantine. Every species that did nothing to stop the massacre. You all share responsibility, and you will all learn the lesson the Thracic are learning now. What lesson is that? Asked one council member. Daehyun's expression was harder than stone. Do not wake up humanity. Because once we are awake, once we are angry, nothing in the galaxy can stop us. The hologram ended. The council chamber remained silent for a long time. On Earth, Hana watched the transmission with other survivors. Someone asked if she thought the war would end soon. No, Hana said quietly. This war ends when every Thracic military installation is destroyed. When their empire cannot threaten anyone ever again. That was the warning we gave them. Now we keep our promise. In space, Captain Minho and his crew prepared for their next mission. Yoonji plotted a course to a Thracic shipyard. Sojin loaded new weapons. The Inchun's blade slipped into the darkness again, hunting its prey. The Thracic Empire had ruled for thousands of years. They had conquered dozens of species. They had never known defeat. but they had never fought humans before. And humans, once awakened to war, were the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. 14 months had passed since the Sejong's hope was destroyed. In that time, the Thracic Empire lost 32 military outposts, 15 supply depots, 8 shipyards, and over 200 ships. Their soldiers were afraid to leave port. Their colonies were evacuating. Their economy was collapsing. War Master Velroth paced in his command center, his claws clicking on the metal floor. His officers sat at their stations looking exhausted. No one had slept properly in months. "The humans have captured our mining colony on Torvus," one officer reported. "They are using our own resources to build more weapons." "They have established a forward base in the Keltar system," said another, "right in the middle of our territory, and we cannot remove them." Velroth slammed his fist on the table. "We have 10,000 ships. How can we not defeat a species with less than 100? His tactical officer pulled up a display. "Because they do not fight like a military, War Master. They fight like hunters. They study us. They learn our patterns. They strike our weaknesses. Every time we adapt to one tactic, they invent a new one." It was true. The humans had evolved their warfare with frightening speed. When the Thracic improved their sensors to detect cold-running ships, humans developed stealth coatings that absorbed sensor beams. When the Thracic started using random patrol routes, humans deployed networks of microsatellites to track their movements. When the Thracic tried to protect their supply convoys with overwhelming force, humans used drone swarms to waste their ammunition before the real attack began. Chief Engineer Soo-hyun had turned human military production into an art form. Every week brought new innovations. Missiles that could split into multiple warheads mid-flight, armor that could regenerate using nanobots, energy weapons reverse-engineered from captured Thracic technology, and improved to be more efficient. "We have a saying on Earth," Soo-hyun told her engineering teams. "Necessity is the mother of invention. The Thracic made it necessary for us to become better at war than them, so we will." Intelligence Director Taewon had mapped the entire Thracic Empire, every military base, every industrial center, every populated world. He knew their strength. He knew their weaknesses, and he knew how to break them. "The Thracic homeworld has orbital defense platforms," Taewon explained to Fleet Admiral Ji-won. 32 stations, each one capable of destroying our entire fleet. Attacking directly would be suicide. "So we do not attack directly," Ji-won said. "What else can we do? The defense platforms are controlled from a central command station. If we take that station, the platforms become useless, and that station is located on their moon, which has minimal defenses." Ji-won smiled, "because they never expected anyone to get close enough to attack it." "How long would it take to plan this operation? We could be ready in 2 months. But there is a problem. The Thracic have assembled a massive fleet. 300 ships. Intelligence suggests they plan to attack Earth." Ji-won leaned back in her chair. "Let them come. I have been waiting for them to do something predictable." The Thracic fleet was indeed preparing for a final assault on humanity's homeworld. Velroth had gathered ships from every corner of his empire. This would be the decisive battle. They would crush Earth, kill the human leaders, and end this humiliating war. "We will not make the mistake we made before," Velroth told his fleet commanders. "This time we strike with overwhelming force. Every ship attacks together. We will turn Earth into ash." The fleet began its journey to human space. It took 2 weeks to reach the edge of the solar system. When they dropped out of FTL, Velroth expected to see Earth's defenses waiting. Instead, he saw nothing. "Where is their fleet?" he demanded. "Sensors show no ships in the system, War Master. No orbital defenses. No weapon platforms, nothing." Velroth felt uneasy. The humans were many things, but they were not stupid. "Scan for mines. Check for cloaked ships. This must be a trap." His officers scanned for hours. They found nothing. The solar system appeared empty except for the planets and their moons. "Perhaps they evacuated," suggested one officer. "Perhaps they fled rather than face our fleet." "No," Velroth said. "Humans do not run. They fight, always. Something is wrong." But his fleet needed to advance. They had come too far to turn back. The 300 Thracic ships began moving deeper into the solar system, heading toward Earth. What they did not know was that 30 human ships were following them. Captain Minho's Inchen's blade was one of them. The ships had hidden in the Kuiper Belt, among the ice and rock at the edge of the system. When the Thracic fleet passed, the human ships fell in behind them.
using the Thrasic's own engine signatures to mask their presence. "They are heading straight for Earth," Yunji whispered, watching her displays.
"Should we engage?" "Not yet," Minho said. "Let them get deeper into the system. Let them think they have won." The Thrasic fleet reached Saturn. Still no resistance. They passed Jupiter. Still nothing. Mars was ahead, and beyond it, Earth. Then things started to go wrong. Ships at the back of the formation began disappearing. Not exploding, just vanishing from sensors. "Report," Velroth ordered. "Unknown, War Master. Ships are losing contact. No distress signals. Just silence." Behind the fleet, Minho's ships were striking. Not with weapons, but with boarding teams. Small pods launched from the human ships attached to Thrasic hulls and cut through. Teams of human soldiers entered the Thrasic vessels and captured them from the inside. It was risky and dangerous, but it worked. The captured ships were sealed and left drifting as the human teams moved to the next target. "We have lost 20 ships," a Thrasic officer reported, panic in his voice. Velroth ordered the fleet to stop and regroup. That was his second mistake. The first mistake was coming to Earth. The second was stopping to fight. Dr. Yuna's kinetic weapons platforms, hidden in the asteroid belt, opened fire. Rocks accelerated to near light speed began hitting the Thrasic fleet. Shields held against the first impacts, then failed against the second. Ships broke apart under the kinetic assault. At the same time, Fleet Admiral Jiwon's main battle fleet appeared from behind Earth's moon. 50 ships, not as big as the Thrasic vessels, but faster and more maneuverable. They had been hiding in lunar orbit, their signatures masked by the moon's radiation. The Battle of Sol had begun. Jiwon's strategy was simple: divide and conquer. Her ships moved in small groups, surrounding individual Thrasic vessels and overwhelming them with firepower before moving to the next target. Meanwhile, Minho's teams continued boarding operations from the rear, and Yuna's kinetic platforms kept firing from the belt. The Thrasic fleet, large and powerful, found itself fighting enemies from every direction. They tried to form defensive formations, but human ships were too fast. They tried to break through to Earth, but the path was blocked. They tried to retreat, but Minho's ships controlled their escape route. Velroth watched his fleet disintegrate. 280 ships became 200. Then 150. Then 100. "We must retreat," his officers begged. "We cannot retreat. We will be laughed at across the galaxy. We will be dead across the galaxy if we stay here." Finally, Velroth gave the order. The remaining Thrasic ships attempted to flee. Some made it to FTL and escaped. Most did not. Human missiles tracked them down. Human ships pursued them through the solar system. When the battle ended 18 hours later, only 7 Thrasic vessels had survived. 7 out of 300. Velroth was not among the survivors. His flagship had been hit by a kinetic projectile. The last thing he heard was the sound of his ship tearing apart. On Earth, Hana watched the battle from the command center where she now worked as a civilian consultant. She had helped plan some of the defensive strategies. When the victory was confirmed, people around her cheered and celebrated. Hana did not cheer. She remembered the Sejong's hope. She remembered the 12,000 people who died. This victory did not bring them back. It only ensured their deaths had meaning. "What happens now?" someone asked. Fleet Admiral Jiwon appeared on the command screen. "Now we finish what we started. The Thrasic fleet is broken. Their War Master is dead. We take the war to their homeworld. We show the galaxy that humanity keeps its promises." Across human space, ships prepared for the final offensive. The defensive war was over. Now came the conquest. And humanity, having learned to fight among the stars, was ready to teach the galaxy what happened when you woke them up. The Thrasic Empire had stood for thousands of years. It would not survive to see its next 1,000. Part 5. The Crystal Hall of the Galactic Council looked different now. The seats that once held Thrasic representatives were empty. Those warriors were dead, captured, or hiding somewhere in the ruins of their empire. 2 years had passed since Ambassador Daehyun stood in this hall and gave his warning. 2 years since they laughed at him. Nobody was laughing now. Daehyun walked into the hall again, but everything had changed. He wore a military uniform with medals earned in battle. Behind him walked Fleet Admiral Jiwon, her presence commanding respect. Beside them came Chief Engineer Soo-hyun, Intelligence Director Taewon, and Captain Minho. Outside the station, 50 human warships waited, their weapons powered and ready. The council members shifted nervously in their seats. Some of them had not attended previous meetings, sending representatives instead. But today every species leader was present. They understood that today was important. Kixtera of the Molten Collective spoke first, its blob-like form trembling. Ambassador Daehyun, the Council congratulates humanity on your victory over the Thracic Empire. Perhaps now we can discuss terms of peace. Peace? Daehyun's voice was cold. 2 years ago I came here asking for peace. You voted to quarantine us. You stood by while the Thracic murdered 12,000 civilians. You called us adorable and primitive. Where was your peace then? The chamber was silent. Several council members looked at the floor. The Thracic Empire is no more, Daehyun continued. We have captured their homeworld. We have occupied their colonies. We have dismantled their military. Every Thracic warship has been destroyed or captured. Their empire, which lasted 3,000 years, is gone. He pulled up a holographic display showing human territory. What was once 6 star systems had become 43. Every former Thracic holding was now under human control. But we are not done, Daehyun said, because the Thracic Empire was not the only problem. The real problem is this council. Shocked murmurs filled the hall. One council member stood up. You cannot threaten the council. We are the foundation of galactic civilization. You are a protection racket, Admiral Ji-won said, stepping forward. Strong species dominate weak ones. No one stops them because everyone is afraid to be next. That system created the Thracic. That system allowed them to kill our people. Chief Engineer Soo-hyun activated another display. In the past 2 years, humanity has reverse-engineered every piece of council technology we captured. We have improved most of it. Your energy shields, ours are better. Your FTL drives, ours are faster. Your sensors, ours detect things you cannot imagine. She showed technical schematics that made several council members gasp. Soo-hyun smiled. You called our weapons primitive. You were right, they were. But we learn fast. We adapt faster. We improve fastest. That is what humans do. We take what exists and make it better. Intelligence Director Taewon spoke next. We have also mapped every system in council space. Every military base, every shipyard, every population center. Not because we want to attack them, but because we need you to understand something very important. He paused and looked around the hall. We could destroy any of you. Anytime, any place. Not because we are stronger, though in many ways we are now, but because we are more determined. Because when humans decide to do something, we do not stop until it is done. Captain Minho stepped forward. His reputation had spread across the galaxy. The Ghost of the Void, some species called him, the hunter who never misses. I have spent 2 years hunting Thracic ships. I learned how they think, how they move, how they hide. Now I have studied your species too. All of you. I know your patrol patterns. I know your defensive strategies. I know your weaknesses. He was not threatening. He was simply stating facts. That made it more frightening. Ambassador Daehyun raised his hand for silence. Humanity is presenting the council with new terms. Not a request, not a petition. Terms. You will accept them. You cannot dictate to the council. One member protested. We can, Daehyun replied. And we will, because you have 2 choices. Accept our terms and reform the council into something that actually protects civilized species. Or refuse, and we will dismantle this organization the same way we dismantled the Thracic Empire. Your choice. He displayed the terms on the main screen. Every council member read them in silence. The new council would have human oversight. No species could attack another without provocation. Developing species would be protected, not quarantined. Disputes would be resolved through negotiation, with human mediators if needed. And most important, any species that violated these rules would face collective response, with humanity leading the enforcement. You want to control the galaxy, Kixtara said. No, Daehyun corrected. We want to protect it. There is a difference. For thousands of years, your council has allowed strong species to prey on weak ones. That created a system where might makes right. That system killed our people. That system ends today. Dr. Yuna appeared on a communication screen from Earth. We are also offering technology sharing to any species that signs the new charter, medical advances that can extend lifespans, agricultural techniques that can end hunger, defensive systems to protect against aggression. We are not conquerors. We do not want your worlds or your resources. We want a galaxy where species can develop without fear of being destroyed for existing. Hana, the survivor who had become humanity's voice, spoke from Earth as well. 2 years ago, we asked to join your council as friends. You rejected us. You laughed at us. You allowed our people to be murdered. Now we are not asking. We are telling you how things will work. And if you refuse, you will learn what we learned, that humanity does not make empty threats. We make promises, and we keep them. The council members looked at each other. Some were angry. Some were afraid. Some were thoughtful. Finally, one of the older members spoke. It was a species called the Venatress, who had been part of the council for 5,000 years. Perhaps, the Venatress elder said slowly, the council has needed reform for a long time. Perhaps we have become comfortable with injustice because it did not affect us directly. Perhaps humanity is right. You cannot be serious, another member protested. They are forcing us to accept this. No, the elder replied.
They are forcing us to be better than we have been.
There is a difference. The debate lasted for hours. Some species threatened to leave the council. Humanity replied that they were free to leave, but they would have no protection if they did. Some species argued that humanity was too aggressive to lead. Humanity replied that they were aggressive only when threatened, and if species stopped threatening each other, there would be no problem. Finally, the vote was called. It was not unanimous, but it passed. 39 species voted yes. 8 voted no. But the new charter was accepted. The Galactic Council would reform. Humanity would have oversight authority, and any species that violated the new rules would face consequences. As the meeting ended, Kixtara approached Daehyun privately. I must ask, if we had voted no, would you really have dismantled the council? Daehyun looked at the creature that had called humanity adorable 2 years ago. What do you think? Kixtara bubbled nervously. I think humanity does not make threats. You make promises, correct, Daehyun said. Remember that. On Earth, celebrations filled the streets, not because humanity had won a war, but because the war was finally over. Children played in parks that had been dark for 2 years. Families reunited with soldiers returning from the front lines. Ships that had been built for war would now be converted back to peaceful purposes. Hana stood in a memorial park built for the victims of the Sejong's Hope. 12,000 names were carved in stone, including Daehyun's family. She placed flowers at the base of the monument. We did what we promised, she said quietly to the names. We made them understand. We made them pay. We made sure no one else will suffer what you suffered. Behind her, other survivors gathered. They came here often, not to celebrate victory, but to remember why they fought. Fleet Admiral Jiwon addressed her forces one last time. You have done something no other species thought possible. You defeated an empire that had never known defeat. You changed the balance of power in the galaxy. You protected not just humanity, but every weak species that could not protect themselves. She paused. But remember what we learned. We learned that war is not something to be proud of. It is something necessary when all other options fail. We learned that strength must be used to protect, not to dominate. We learned that mercy must be earned through respect, not given freely to those who show none. Captain Minho and his crew returned to Earth as heroes. Yoonji and Seojin were offered promotions to command their own ships. Minho considered retirement but decided to stay in the military. Someone needs to train the next generation, he said. Someone needs to make sure they understand how to fight without losing their humanity. Chief Engineer Soo-hyun continued her work, but now she focused on peaceful technology, medical devices, environmental systems, ways to improve life rather than take it. But she kept detailed files on every weapon design, every tactical system, every innovation that had won the war. Just in case, she said. Just in case someone forgets what happens when you threaten humanity. Intelligence Director Taewon maintained watch over the galaxy. He saw that some species were unhappy.